There's a good film from 1994, a very good film actually, titled The Last Seduction, directed by one John Dahl. Often cited as a classic neo noir or femme fatale picture, it is a stellar exercise in considerate scripting, visceral cinematography, sharp direction, and, of course, mesmerizing, dense performances. It greatly saddens me that the amazing Linda Fiorentino did not appear in any other, seemingly, major films after this one. She first appeared in Scorsese's marvelous 85 picture, After Hours, where that and The Last Seduction appear to be the only really interesting films which she ever featured in. Oh, and on director John Dahl, it would appear that this film was the only compelling work he directed in his decade spanning career. I cannot fault the fellow for not being assigned any worthwhile scripts after this one. I can understand how indifferent and unsympathetic the American film industry can be and would plausibly still be. It might be more fair to say that the initial factor of this film's striking quality is the screenplay itself, penned by one Steve Barancik, and sadly he penned no other notable films afterward. The Last Seduction was his first, as it happened, unless one is to count the Tony Scott film Domino, which I personally would not. It is possible that The Last Seduction, if read as a script, might seem a little trash or trite, though sufficiently, largely unpredictable, which is in many respects the most difficult aspect of realizing a thriller narrative. It is possible that the film is elevated via obviously the radiant players, but also the vivid cinematography, which is courtesy of one apparently impressively gifted Jeffrey Jur. Well, that might not be totally apt to state, as Jur is not a visionary cinematographer when assessing his overall body of work, and it would appear The Last Seduction is the crown gem of his cinematographic output. He shot a couple of rather well known, I mean to some extent perhaps, 80s pictures, namely Dirty Dancing and, Soul Man. Yikes, wipe that off your resume. But also the 2000s wholly liked in Australia comedy number My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which is not a favourite of mine, though I've known enough Greeks they enjoy quoting it with one another. As cinematographer, Jur also shot The Big Picture, Christopher Guest's film from 1989, which I quite like, though also a television picture from 1982 titled Any Friend of Nicholas Nickleby is a Friend of Mine, an adaptation of a Ray Bradbury script which he apparently also penned as a short story, which I have seen and quite liked also. The Last Seduction remains an immensely impressive film, one which is sure to enthrall many audiences, except those who are averse to overly negative subjects in a film or general misanthropy, say. When I look at a list of neo-noir films, it seems that The Last Seduction is the best released in 1994. This listing also includes John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness and Alex Proyas' The Crow, which are closer to fantasy or horror genre work, so I'm not sure if I'd include those ones. Whatever the case, if one hasn't seen The Last Seduction, go and check it out, and if you have, you'd likely agree that they ought to see it if they have not yet done so.